Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. January transfer windows ended. But before we get onto any of that, we're of course going to start with how is Harley doing at university?
We haven't done this. I think we missed a month of this, so there might be some huge updates,
Oh,
or there might not be.
oh,
Harley's doing all right. Harley's he's nice and settled. He's passed his first semester with flying colours.
well done.
He's adapted to student life. He's got a nice balance going. He's doing okay. He's doing all right.
I like how you kept talking about Harley in the third person there. Like
Yeah.
there's a difference between you here and the university life
Uh,
Harley.
Two very different people.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
University
so,
changes you.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was a very long time ago. So yeah. Um, I think we just get straight into it. January's ended.
Yeah,
Um,
got a lot to go over.
there is quite a lot to go over. I mean, I guess we kind of start with the sort of striker sort of
Mm.
changeover that we've had. I mean, personally, you're never going to beat signing Ossie or on loan on deadline day, but I think we nearly beat it this time around, didn't we?
I think as January transfer windows go, probably the best one I can remember.
For
I mean,
for me, the only January transfer window that was better was when Walsall tweeted a video of the shutter going down when we were keeping
mm,
Tom Bradshaw. That's sort of
yeah,
the level that
mm,
that we're
yeah.
at.
See, you wheel that story out every year, and I know it's your favourite.
It
I know we're
is.
never going to top that.
I remember where I was when that video came out. It was great. But yeah, it's been, I'd say, one of our biggest things that we kind of said coming into it was we need the squad to stay as strong by the end of
Yeah,
January as when we go into it. And I'd say that probably, I think quality wise, we are. And I'd say that we've managed to just get in that little bit of depth as well.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think the only thing that I was a little bit maybe wasn't sure that we covered properly was right wing back.
Yeah,
I think that I think that what we've done there, and I can see his thinking absolutely, is that we've kind of front loaded with strikers, and we're going to put Knowles there, and kind of
yeah,
probably Riley and Knowles are going to cover that position for the rest of the season with a bit of Hayden White in there. I think we've
yeah.
kind of front loaded the strikers and put the budget there, which is probably the right thing to do.
I think, yeah, I mean, I'm not against seeing Knowles there for the rest of the
No,
season, but, and this is obviously something we're going to talk about later in the year, I don't want him being our new right wing back
yeah,
because I
yeah,
think, but I mean, we've kind of got 4, 5 strikers now that even if you take Knowles out of that, um, when you consider the three that we had already, Wilkinson's coming back to fitness, although I think
yeah,
against Salford he was uh, he was off the pace, but I don't think the
yeah.
pitch and the conditions helped him there. Um,
No.
Williams, I thought, gave a really good account of himself against Leicester and
Mm,
can start when needed. And then there's Douglas James Taylor, as well as the two that we brought in. Um, Exciting times if Matt and Stevens can combine like they did at Forest Green.
I mean, who better to bring in to replace Danny Johnson than the most lethal attack of last season? I mean, surely everybody's going to be would have been gagging to sign those two. I know Stevens has just come off an injury, and I don't think Matt was fully fit either, so they're both a little bit off it. But yeah,
Well, Matt didn't really play that much for Forest Green, but
no,
Forest Green aren't playing well as a team in League One, so I don't
no,
think you can judge his goals based on that. I mean, just look at Bennett going from us to a poor Cambridge team.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's selection headache time, surely.
Well, I mean, I hope so. Yeah, I think that it's never a bad thing. I think that definitely I like to see them two starting together. I think them two with Knowles at right wing back, that is outrageous. And I think that's the only possible way, I think personally, that we could have replaced Danny Johnson and still been happy.
Yeah.
I don't see us signing anyone else realistically with as good a pedigree as those two.
Talking of Johnson, from a Walsall perspective, how happy are you with how it's almost ended?
Um, I mean, if we're talking purely Danny Johnson, I'm quite disappointed in it because I think that, well, in fact, I know that he wanted to come here from everything that,
Yeah.
yeah, everyone knows that from everything that Ben Boycott said and every person in the know has said.
And
He
his
wanted to be at
tweets
Walsall.
and yeah, the fact that
Yeah,
he obviously
yeah,
was hoping that late on in the window it
yeah,
was going to happen.
yeah. He was staying up because he thought the move was going to happen at deadline day, but it didn't. And I'm disappointed, and I feel a little bit let down because we did really want him and we did need him, but there's not much we can do about that. In all fairness,
Yeah.
I think it's going to hurt Mansfield more than it's going to hurt us.
Yes, and this is the thing that I don't understand why they are doing what they're doing. If you're if that was in our situation, you wouldn't want the player starting or playing because you've messed them around. And I'm talking about if we held on to a player and did all of what Mansfield have done. He's not happy there. He showed that with multiple Mansfield fans commenting on how he was in there. I can't remember which game it was now at the weekend.
Mhm.
He's even things like changing his social media profiles from professional footballer at Walsall to professional footballer.
Yeah,
His tweet, everything. And even when you look a little deeper and you look at the stuff that he's liked on Twitter, you can see he's probably hurting that he's not coming to the club.
yeah,
So you're not going to get that Mansfield aren't getting the Johnson that we've had because
yeah,
he's not going to put in anywhere near that effort. He also knows in the summer he's going to have a load of clubs after him because it's Danny Johnson and he's a free agent. So what I don't understand is they're paying all of his wages for 6 months and they have rejected transfer fees. I'm not saying that it was a big fee that Walsall put in, but the fact that Flynn and Boycott have said that a deal had been done and then Mansfield changed the goalposts, you
mm,
just don't understand. But like you said, I think it's going to hurt them more than it will hurt us, considering who
yeah.
we bought in instead.
Now, I don't know how true it is. I don't remember where I saw it, but I did see something that said that Mansfield were demanding 250k for Johnson. And I think we would have probably gone somewhere between 100 100 to 150 probably for him.
I don't know how much I believe that. I think that
I
might have.
think,
I don't know where. I don't know which
but
legitimate
I
source.
yeah, so that's what I'm not sure on the source, but I could absolutely see Mansfield trying to squeeze us for every penny,
Yeah,
and it's backfired because, like Flint said at the start of the window, we do have other plans
yeah.
if they play hardball, and I think personally, I think they've got it wrong, Mansfield. I think they've tried to squeeze us for absolutely everything they could because they wanted the money, because they need the money. Whether they like it or not, Mansfield fans, you do need that money. You do.
Or are you going to upset a few of them?
Um, I know. Well, I've already upset them on Twitter. I'll upset them on YouTube as well. But obviously, you do. You're a League Two club. You're going to be struggling financially because everyone is. It's not a particularly wealthy league unless you're Salford or Stockport.
And
So that,
he's not on
that
peanuts with them because it's
no,
kind of well documented that they pay well.
yeah.
And
So
yeah,
yeah, I think that they tried to squeeze us for money and we've said no. And Danny Johnson doesn't want to go to Gillingham. He doesn't want to go to Colchester. He isn't going to go to wherever
no.
Hartlepool.
Reading between the lines, that lovely interview that the was Clough did.
Yeah, it was Clough. Yeah,
I, from what I can kind of read between the lines, is that Johnson. It wasn't that he didn't want to. That he was only going to move to a club for 6 months. It's that if he was going to somewhere like a Gillingham or like a Colchester, he was only going there for 6 months
yeah,
because he doesn't want to be. at a club that are at the wrong end of League Two. He wants a team that
Yeah.
are top end League Two, bottom end of League One. So,
Mm.
but yeah, it's do you reckon we'll get him in the summer?
I don't know. I don't know. It depends what happens with Jamil Matt and Stevens. You know, whether we look if Stevens does well, do we try and bring him in permanently? It's
Difficult.
whether we
Yeah.
do we if we went up, if we don't go up, if we finish the season well or badly. There are a lot of things in play that I'm not entirely sure on. So
I mean,
it's a bit too early to say.
I think every fan would take him.
Mm.
Absolutely, because we're going to have a bit of a changeover in attack over the summer. The fact that obviously Douglas James Taylor's on loan, Stevens is on loan, and Williams will be another year older. You kind of left with Wilkinson and Matt. There's nothing wrong with that, but if you have Wilkinson, Matt, and Johnson going into the start of a new season, that's a pretty strong front line.
Yeah, so I think that it all depends on where we are at the end of the season, but I do think that he's going to be on our radar and someone that we'll be looking at. And I think that the way we've dealt with it with him, I think we've kind of, I don't know what the opposite of burnt bridges is, but that's what we've done. We've kind of made him we've made every effort to bring him in
Yeah,
and, we've built a relationship with him. And I think that you know, he's left us with a good taste in his mouth.
yeah, and I think it's sort of weird, isn't it, that a loanee leaves wanting to stay longer and we don't
Yeah.
get them. Like,
Mm.
um, so the right wing back situation, what? So are you kind of hoping that it will be Knowles and Riley? Because I think White kind of showed against Salford that it's not his position.
I've said since the minute that he played right wing back that he's not a very good right wing back because he just doesn't have the nous for that role. He
Yeah,
doesn't have the offensive ability. He can't really beat a man. He doesn't think quick enough. He's a good defender, and at right centre half, he does do a good job. But he, what he's good at is defending.
yeah,
He's good at winning the ball back. He's good at stopping crosses, shepherding people out of play, just getting the ball, playing it simple, playing it forward. That's what he's good at. If you ask him to do any more than that, and I think we're asking too much of him. So I think it will leave it up to Knowles and Riley. Whether Riley plays there, I don't know. I know he can, so I think there might be a case of he might cover there. But I think as I've said all along, and I think Flynn reiterated, he is a centre mid, and that's where he'll be utilised primarily. I would
yeah.
say.
So looking at the other business that we've done in terms of incomings, so we've covered the striker situation. Um, Robbie Wilmot was a, I mean, we obviously we touched on him when he signed, but sort of in the midfield wing back situation, you've got Wilmot, and then obviously we brought in Jan Songo. Strength and depth, is that what you kind of feel with those two?
Yeah, I think the thing with Wilbot is he's not going to have a great game every game. He definitely did against Stockport when he came on in the FA
Yeah.
Cup,
And I thought he was all
but
right against Leicester, given the opposition.
he was okay. I think a couple of the kind of games we've played, I've seen him. He hasn't been brilliant, but I think that he fills in where needed, and he does a decent enough job. Yeah, he's not there to revolutionise the team. He's just kind of there to plug gaps. I think Songo is he's the Labadie replacement.
Yeah,
Because we have been missing without Kinsella, we don't have a destroyer. And I think that Songo can kind of do that and set the tempo a little bit more in midfield. So I think he's a good signing as well, just on a short term basis. I think they're good. They're good signings if you're looking to go up the league.
yeah. A bit of like football experience at this level, rather
Yeah,
than, and I'm going to completely contradict myself here, rather than a Premier League or Championship loanee who's making their Football League debut, a la
Yeah.
Joe Low, who, and that's
Yeah.
where I'm contradicting myself because I think in the past we've been reliant on these sort of players that Prem clubs just want to get their first taste of action, where actually
Yeah.
it's quite nice having a bit of experience. And I do also think that, Songo's going to obviously be a bit of that grit in midfield, but Wilmot, his set piece delivery has been great. And I think
Yeah.
that's something we really have been missing because some of our set pieces at times, the delivery is woeful.
Yeah.
Um,
It always has been.
yeah. But so I touched on him there. Joe Lowe, the man who can control the ball whatever way he wants.
Yeah. Joe Lowe, what a debut that was from
yeah.
him against Leicester. Because that's his. I'm pretty sure that's his first ever.
Yeah. First
Is it
ever, I think,
professional start? I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
If you
did
take out like
excellently.
Wales under 21s.
Yeah, he made a couple of he made a couple of kind of appearances for Bristol, but I think they were off the bench. I think he's played twice for them, but I think this is his first actual start in the men's game.
Yeah.
And he looked comfortable. He looked very comfortable against very quality opposition. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say good because they weren't good, but they were quality players.
Well,
And
over half the squad that started had been at the World Cup. So,
exactly, yeah, you're looking at some unbelievable players there.
yeah.
Your James Madison's, your Dackers, your Barbie Barneses, they're some real quality in there, and he dealt with it. He dealt with every ball into the box. He put himself about. I didn't watch the Salford game. I don't know exactly how he got on. I heard he wasn't quite as good, but he's young and he's learning,
I'd say
and
that,
I
I mean,
like that.
neither team played particularly well at Salford. The pitch was horrendous and the
Yeah,
conditions were
I heard it
horrendous.
was a bit of a bog.
Yeah, it was. I think it's interesting, just quickly talking about the Salford game. We we actually it looked like it threw us that we couldn't try and play through the thirds a bit, which
Yeah,
is so strange for us. Um,
yeah,
but it looked like we kind of where we've tried to get the ball to feet and release players like Gordon and Hutchinson and Knowles. I think we actually just struggled to because we couldn't keep the ball that well and because it was difficult to play, which was very interesting because that's normally not our style at all. But
yeah.
oh, how things have changed.
So what you're saying is we were too good for the pitch.
I mean, that's a big statement, but I think it was different. Different style of football was needed for that
Yeah.
pitch.
Mm.
Um, like I don't know, a meat house up front that headed a goal. That's the sort of thing that you needed, and Salford
Yeah.
had one.
Mm. It's very true.
But no,
We were unlucky not to score.
no, I still don't know how that didn't go in. I mean, but I think I like Lowe, and I've got
Yeah.
to say, it poses defensive question marks like going forward, and not for the reason of which are our best three centre backs because we need to play our best. It's more a case of we've got you know 4 or 5 good centre backs, but only 3 can play.
Yeah. Well, this is it. And I think with McKenty as well, he's had some good games for us. And I think he had one, he struggled at Stockport,
Yeah,
and we brought someone in of similar quality who's immediately jumped ahead of him in the pecking order, not because he's a bad player, but because we've brought in another player who's quality.
yeah,
And that's no slate on McKenty at all because I really like him. So I think, but that just goes to show how well we've been recruiting. That even
yeah,
now, with when we have 3, 4 good centre halves, we can still bring in another one.
yeah, and yeah, I think it's going to be interesting seeing the rotation as we go forward because we've got about what
A
30 games a
horrible
month,
fixture
so
list.
it feels like we're going to be playing every single day at this rate. But
Mm,
it's it's kind of frustrating then that the central midfield options have dwindled with
yeah,
it's not long term, but Kinsella and of course Earring, who is longer term. And I think 2 players who kind of Kinsella's been consistent all along, but Earing had started to grow back into the side again when he got injured, which is
Yeah,
really frustrating.
yeah. That's a real shame. And you've got to feel for the lad because he's already had an injury this season. He come back into the squad and it's done it again. There's just no luck there.
Yeah,
And he's a quality player, and I hope that we hang on to him because I don't know if his contract's up. It might be, but I would say that I really want to hang on to him and give him time to develop because he is a good player.
yeah, and he started showing it again, which is credit to him, given that he'd had such a stop-start season. Right, outgoings, because it's been a month where actually more players have kind of gone than sort of really we think about. We've obviously had Abraham and Clark's loans extended at Oldham, which
Yeah,
is kind of where I'm going with that. I'd say right decision for both.
yeah,
Um, and I think, you know, they're not needed back in the squad, which is
no.
quite a nice situation. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, Bennett and Johnson. Our friend Danny Cashman, uh, now at Altrincham, I think that's about right.
Yeah, yeah. I think we both agreed on this that's where he should be.
But I mean, I don't know obviously how much we were paying, and I don't know whether we even terminated it early or whether it was when it was due to be up, but right decision.
Yeah,
Um, and then the kind of the major one was Brendan Kiernan, who came back and then didn't play. So there were the hints that he was going to go somewhere else. Sad to see, but right decision.
yeah. I think he just doesn't suit this style of play, and I was a champion of Brendan Kiernan last season. I thought he was excellent for large parts of the season, and he was one of the few players that suited Matt Taylor's style. But he didn't suit Michael Flynn's, and I would feel bad keeping him around and not playing him. So I
Yeah,
think I would have probably liked some money for him, but honestly, just terminating it gets him off our books and he can go and play some football and hopefully kind of reinvigorate his career a little bit.
yeah. I also think that obviously we'll have known who was in for him, and I can't imagine Hartlepool would have paid for him. But it's one of those where you go, they're fighting relegation, they're not a threat for us. It's probably best, like you said, get the wages off the bill. Maybe they're obviously going towards the likes of Stevens and the likes of whoever it's contributing. It's a shame because I don't think Kiernan's really done anything wrong. But like you said, and
No,
we've said this a lot, he's not. It would have felt like a bit of a backward step to almost try and shoehorn him in at wing back, which isn't his play at all,
no,
and or to try and even put him up top because the end of last season he ran about a lot. He put the effort in. He never once sort of showed that he was annoyed about where he was playing, but it just wasn't his role.
no, no. He is your traditional left winger,
Yeah.
and we don't play left wingers, so there's just not really any point in sticking around for himself, really, more than anything.
So I'm going to take you back to school now for a slight moment. How would you rate
Yeah.
our incomings and how would you rate our departures? Grading each of them
Oh.
separately and then an overall
What, each player separately or each category separately?
category. So
Okay.
incomings as a grade it, outgoings grading it, and then a fine.
Incomings, are we going 1 to 10, A to U?
Look, we're adults, so we're gonna go
Yeah,
E to F, I'd say.
yeah. Okay, good. Um, so I would give that a B. I
Ooh,
think that was very solid. It's a
that is
very
where I
solid
was
window
going.
for us.
I was going B as well.
Yeah, great minds. And then our outgoings, I'd say probably a C because the big ones weren't really in our control, so I can't fault anyone for that.
Yeah, I'd say I think yeah, like you said, the ones that weren't in our control, it's difficult, especially looking at where they've gone. You know,
Yeah,
Mansfield are just going to let Johnson rot, which is disgusting, and Bennett's playing for Cambridge, so you can't argue that. My
yeah,
only thing would have been, I agree with what you're saying about kind of Kiernan and probably Clark and Abraham. Would have been nice to potentially get a little bit of money for players leaving.
yeah,
Um, but I can't imagine we're letting Oldham have the two players for like that we're paying all of the wages. But that's the
yeah,
only slight thing that I think would have done better is if we'd have got a bit of money from somewhere. However,
yeah,
that's being quite greedy on my behalf.
yeah. No, I think that's a fair thing to say. I think that we could have probably used a bit of cash influx, but we're not desperate for it. So if we don't, we don't. We've kind of saved some money here and there by getting rid of a few to use it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not unhappy with it.
My other thing that I would also potentially add is I think we could have maybe offloaded one more,
I know.
and this is controversial, but I think we could have potentially loaned out um, Perry
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point.
because he's
I didn't really
come back,
think of Sam Perry, but yeah,
and I don't think he's even made the bench.
no,
Um, and like we said, with Riley coming back, I think he's going to overtake obviously Perry in the pecking order because Riley's already made the bench. Um, for the I don't think he was at Salford, but he was definitely on the bench against Leicester.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
it was,
that's
yeah,
my only slight is that we may have been able to just let him have some game time, potentially freed up not even wages that to get someone else in, but just to kind of save ourselves a few hundred quid here and there.
yeah. No, that is a good point. To be fair, I think we probably could have done that, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with Perry.
Oh, the only other one as well, incomings we've not touched on is Jackson Smith, who I think I can sum this up very quickly. I don't think we needed a new starting goalkeeper. I also don't think we needed two goalkeepers swapping in and out. So I think it's a good backup.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's pretty spot on. To be fair, I think that he's just going to be there for if Evo gets injured. I think
Yeah.
that's probably going to roll. Yeah, I think that Evans has done enough recently for to fill me with confidence to say that I'm happy for him to be the starting goalkeeper.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's put in some very good performances and I think he's definitely improving. And you kind of
Yeah,
can't, I don't think we can disrupt that. I think we've just got to
no,
let him keep going. So
gotta let him cook.
yeah, you obviously touched
Yeah.
on right wing back as the situation. What is that the only area that you kind of think, if in an ideal world, we could have recruited into?
Um, yeah, I think so. I think that if strikers, I'm happy with. I think that we've got plenty of strikers now. I think attacking midfield, I think we've got nice options. I think centre midfield, once Kinsella's back, then we'll have some nice depth there. I think left wing back with Gordon and Allen's very solid. I think the three centre back positions, I think we've got enough, and goalkeeper. So yeah, I'd say not having an actual right wing back is probably the only criticism I can say of the squad. But we've got three players who can play there, and
Yeah,
Knowles we definitely know can do a decent job. So I think that'd be probably right wing back is the only one where I'm not 100% on it, but you're always gonna have little bits like that.
yeah. As we touched on, we've got a busy period ahead. So, the last couple of minutes, who is it a big month for and why?
Players,
Yes. Who do you?
it's a big month. It's a big month for Jamil Matt and Matt Stevens.
Oh, you've gone for a double header.
I have.
You
because
combine them into one, the
those two
five
are a
brilliant.
lovely little partnership. They come as a two, they do in my mind, and they both need to score goals straight away. They need to hit the ground running. They need to rekindle that magic they had last season, and clearly they love playing together because they both speak about each other very well. And I think it's a big month for them too, just to get us. We need a win because we've not won in two now. It's harsh to say, but we haven't. So we
Yeah,
need to just get ourselves back on track and get another win. And I think those two need to just start pumping in the goals.
yeah. I think the next two are going to be difficult because they're up there, but we've then got a run of teams that are lower down in the table, and I kind of think we need to
Yeah,
go on that run, not having like four straight defeats.
yeah. I think that Kinsella is a big miss as well. I think we need him back in the team.
I'm going to go curveball slightly because I was going to agree with you that it basically was
Oh,
those two. And
oh,
I was going to go with the other one if you went for one. So thanks for that. I'm going to. It's a big month for Knowles.
oh,
Maybe not as much his sort of just him, but I think almost finding where he's going to play the rest of the season.
yeah,
And then, I like him at right wing back, but then also nailing a couple of more performances at right wing back to kind of keep him there. So
yeah,
that's what I'm going to go with Knowles. Not because
yeah.
he's done anything wrong. I just think that he's going to be potentially the one that's going to be playing out of position a lot. So that's
The only thing we didn't touch on,
oh
just
yeah,
circling back to the right wing backs, is that we do have Robbie Wilmot who can play there as well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that is absolutely an option. Not starting, I don't think, but off the bench, that's absolutely an option. Is bringing him on.
Or in a rotation game.
Yeah, yeah,
So what are you saying? Knowles and Wilmot right wing back, and then almost Riley can then go where needed, but predominantly central midfield.
yeah. I would say so. I think that Riley, I think that we can say that he could play there, and I think he may well sometimes. But I think he's more going to be used in midfield, possibly alongside Kinsella, and maybe instead of, I don't know. But I think that Wilmot can absolutely play centre mid. He can absolutely play right wing back. So I think that it's probably going to be a case of he's going to come on and do one of those two jobs, and that would be perfect.
Yeah. And then finally, very, very quickly before we go, I would also I'm going to go the same as you and go for two players. I'm going to say Wilkinson just because I think once he gets a goal, he'll be
Yeah,
a hell of a lot more confident. But
yeah,
I think the fans are almost were giving him that time because he's
we know
been,
what he can do.
yeah, and we can see that it's not through a lack of quality. It's just that he's not match fit, which is
Yeah,
understandable given the amount of time he missed.
yeah. I agree with you on everything you said about Connor Wilkinson. I think I love that smirk there.
It's just nice when you.
Yeah. No, I do. I do. I think that we as fans are willing to give him time to get better because, like you said, it's not about him not putting the effort in, as it were. It's he's still a bit leggy. He's still a half a yard off the pace of the game, which look, as a professional footballer, you're not going to pick it up straight away, especially after a long injury. It's going to take you a few games to really kind of get back into the swing of things and get back up to speed, mm, up to the Swede. Anyway, yeah. So he's getting back up to speed. So yeah, I think we're happy to give him the time, but yeah, it is going to be a big month for him. These next kind of, I don't know how many games we've got, but we're going to have like probably 5 or 6 in the next kind of
In November,
few
November.
weeks.
What am I saying? November. In
We're,
February, we've
we're
got
both at it.
we've got
Yeah.
6 games.
Yeah. He's going to kind of have to up his kind of levels a little bit and start punching in some more bigger performances because I think that the excuse that he's uh, a bit not ready, as it, I think that's the best way I can phrase it, is unprepared maybe, is not going to wash as much. But he knows that. He
Yeah,
himself knows that, and he's gagging for a goal,
yeah,
and he'll get one soon because he's a great finisher of the ball. So yeah, I
need
agree. It's going to be a big one for him.
almost need a penalty with him on the pitch.
Yeah,
Just something that hopefully he'd score, and then everything's
just
okay.
get his confidence back.
Yeah. The I think the my biggest question mark is what I think. So we've got no midweek next week, which is
Mhm.
I think the only time for probably until like mid March that we don't have a midweek. So yeah, I'm not sure which strikers are going to be the starting two because I'm not sure whether Stevens will start. I don't know
Yeah,
how fit or how much he had played, but I do see it being Matt and one of the other two.
yeah. That's that. The only concern I have, and I think that it was brought up at the Salford game, is that starting Wilkinson and Matt, neither of them are 100% at full fitness. You know, they're not 100% match fit because I think Matt hasn't played that much. Wilkinson's coming back from injury, so it might be a case of that we maybe play Andy Williams or James Taylor
Yeah,
alongside one of them just to kind of make sure that we've got the legs up front and kind of bed them in a little bit slower.
yeah. I mean, just looking at Matt, he actually had been playing. It's just that is obviously he hadn't been scoring for Forest Green.
Yeah,
So he'd started Boxing Day, or at least he played over an hour on Boxing Day, and he played a full 90 in the gap between Boxing Day and New Year's. So I think
yeah,
obviously that it has been a while,
yeah.
um, but yeah, because I don't think they played in um, because of frozen pitches and FA. They're not reaching the third round of the FA Cup, but Matt, I think, is fitter. It's obviously been a couple
Yeah,
of weeks since he's played, but I would imagine he will almost have used that game against Salford as a getting back into it.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
trying to look quickly at Stevens because I'm not sure
yeah.
whether he almost what he's done this season coming back
He's been
from.
out with I don't know if it's an ACL, but I know he's done. You know, he had some kind of major injury that's kept him quiet.
Yeah, it's more a
So
case of when he almost started playing again.
yeah,
He played 70 minutes in the third round of the FA Cup.
so about a month ago. Yeah,
Um, and he'd been coming off the bench from about Boxing Day. So he came off the bench 5 times for Forest Green in that
yeah.
spell. So he's kind of
So
getting there.
yeah, he's not far away. I think he's probably at the similar level to Connor Wilkinson. I think that
Yeah,
they're probably all. I think all three of them are probably around about the same kind of fitness level, where they're just
I
probably
think
a,
I think
a
Matt's
week
ahead of them because
from.
he's been playing a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're probably a week or two away from being where they need to be. But
Yeah.
like I say, we've got players who are fully fit, who can start games, and
Or you even start one
but
and bring the other one on.
yeah, that was my kind of thinking, was like start one, bring the other on. Yeah, start Matt and James Taylor or Williams, and bring Wilkinson and Stevens on later in the game. You
Sorry,
know, get them some kind
I
of
meant because I personally think Matt's ready to start. Maybe not every game
yeah,
because he is
yeah.
three, but almost going into the Northampton game, starting Matt and either Stevens or Wilkinson, and then
Uh
the other
yeah.
swapping
No,
them
no, that's a fair shout as well. Yeah, I think just
potentially.
kind of we've got five substitutions, so we can rotate them round, and yeah, it's not like they're gonna have to play 90 minutes.
Yeah,
Play as much or as little as they want.
I mean the fact that Wilkinson came off around the hour mark was obviously pre-planned.
Yeah,
So yeah, overall though, it feels nice talking about a not dreadful January and actually a
yeah,
fairly productive one.
And it was nice to see Ben boycott at the Bescut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you know the owners supporting and coming over and flying over, and it was nice,
And
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 investors as well.
and Robert Mendici, is it? Is
Yeah,
it?
coming
Yeah,
over
he was
to
there as well. There was a lot of support for us. There was a lot of love for us this month from kind of people around the world, like who are tied to the club. So it was nice to see that there's a nice positive vibe around Walsall for once.
yeah, yeah,
We're even getting in the Athletic in their articles.
which is
Never happens.
no, unless it's terrible news.
Yeah, unless the club's burnt down, we usually never get in.
Yeah, yeah. Right, well, we will be seeing each other fairly soon because of February being such a short month, but we'll be
Yeah,
having 6 games to digest. So we'll be able to fully look at how good our January was. So always a pleasure, and I'll see you in a few weeks' time, Harley.
always a pleasure, Rob. I'll see you very soon. Thank you, everyone, for watching.